Let's go! Alabama or Tennessee, who should be ranked higher in the college football playoff hierarchy? And as many of you know, Alabama was put ahead of the Volunteers according to the playoff committee. And today I'm going to give you why I think this isn't a good thing, okay? So comment down below who should be ranked higher, Alabama or Tennessee. Now, it is important at the beginning of this video to share why this is very important. Well, if USC and TCU lose their college football championship games or conference championship games, this does open up a potential slot for either Alabama or Tennessee. And with the way that they currently sit in the college football playoff rankings, that would likely go to Alabama. So today I'm going to share why Tennessee is getting robbed in broad daylight. Now we can get into if Ohio State deserves to be there, but this is an SEC channel. We're just going to focus on these two SEC teams and actually compare their resumes. Now, right off the jump here, head-to-head should matter, right? And if all things are created equal, we should look at head-to-head as a tiebreaker. And that is why Tennessee deserves to be ranked ahead of Alabama, because their resumes are very equal. Now, I know a lot will say, well, Tennessee got blown out in their only loss to South Carolina towards the end of the year, and in their other loss versus Georgia, they also got beat by multiple possessions, which is, of course, true. And I'll be the first to tell you that Tennessee indeed choked. But that's not where we are right now, because both of these teams have 2 losses. And Tennessee, of course, beat Alabama straight up. So the first thing is, the major argument that is being made in favor of Alabama is that they in both of their losses, they were very close losses. Tennessee did beat Alabama, and my biggest qualm with saying, look, Alabama lost 2 games by an extremely close margin is that they also won a lot of games by an extremely close margin. Their best victory on the season was a 1-possession game versus Ole Miss that could have gone either way, and Ole Miss for the most part, controlled the first half of that game. And you look at some of their other close losses. You go back to early in the season versus Texas. Well, they got very lucky that Quinn Ewers got hurt early in that game, and it still took some Bryce Young magic to find a way to win that game. Then you had the Texas A&M game that quite literally came down to the final play. Now, as someone who just got bludgeoned and our playoff hopes got slashed by Texas A&M, I understand that they're an extremely talented team that played up to the talents of Alabama and LSU. So A&M's not the absolute worst team, but with Haynes King at quarterback, it did come down to a 1-play winner-take-all scenario. So for people to say, well, Alabama, they barely lost those games, true, but they also barely won quite a few of them. And the simple truth is this: if Alabama had just blown everybody else out on their schedule, I would feel a lot different about this. And look, they do have a few blowout wins. Obviously, Alabama and Tennessee have a common opponent in Vanderbilt. They blew both of them out. And, of course, Alabama blew out Mississippi State by quite a wide margin. So, for me, I've got to say, look, I don't care about the close game thing. Now, of course, Tennessee also won some close games. Around that same time, they barely beat a middle-of-the-road Pitt team, and that game was also on the road, like the Texas game was on the road. But, like I said, their resumes are very, very, very similar. It's just Tennessee has 2 blowout losses, if you will, and Alabama has 2 close losses. Now, if you're one of those people that say, well, the margin of victory does matter, true. There is no loss for either one of these that is uglier than that South Carolina loss with a healthy Hendon Hooker. And once again, Tennessee should be penalized for that, but they still should not be ranked behind Alabama in that spot. The second thing as well, I know there would be someone out there that says, look, well, Hendon Hooker got hurt, and the committee is allowed to factor that into their evaluations. Cool. But it'd be different if Tennessee the next week didn't have their highest margin of victory. Now, I know it was Vanderbilt, but it's not as if Joe Milton just can't play at all. And I also think you can get into a dangerous game of injury luck, if you will, by saying, well, this team is completely different than what it was at the beginning of the year, and this player is hurt, so Tennessee, of course, isn't the same team without Hendon Hooker, which is true. I'd be the first to say that. But I still think that that is unfair to the players of Tennessee, that your season is being penalized because of something that honestly is completely out of your control, like an injury. So, for me, I just don't think that holds up. Now, is Alabama with Bryce Young a better team than Tennessee with Joe Milton? Probably so. If this game was rematched on a neutral field, even if Hendon Hooker was to play fully healthy, would Alabama probably be favored? Probably. Let's be honest. But we can't live in fantasy land. Games are not decided by Vegas point spreads or power rankings or whatever. It is decided on the field. And in rare cases such as this, where we do have a direct head-to-head matchup between Tennessee and Alabama, the tiebreaker and the favorite, or where we should lean, is the head-to-head matchup. This is not an Alabama who won the SEC West and has an opportunity to beat Georgia this weekend for a chance to get in as a two-loss team. That is not where Alabama is right now. That would have been the position for my LSU Tigers had they not choked versus Texas A&M, but that's not what happened. So Alabama being close to the playoff with really no impressive wins is something that I just don't like. And you do begin to wonder, is it something involving the brand of Alabama and a superstar quarterback like Bryce Young? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Now, there are people out there that look at a college football playoff formula. I do believe there is a formula the committee goes by that obviously expedites the process of ranking teams. But even if the formula says, hey, Alabama should be ahead of Tennessee, if their resumes are as close as they are, if you look at the computer polls where, yes, Alabama, according to CFB Nate's computer composite score, is ranked a little bit higher than Tennessee, even if that is the case, I just don't care because Tennessee also is loved by the computers. Boom! I'm looking at you. Yes, you. I hope you subscribe. We are so close to 1K subscribers. So, could you imagine if Jahmyr Gibbs had actually caught this angle route, or for you football film guys, this Texas route right here? Alabama probably wins this game. But they didn't. And head-to-head needs to matter. And according to CFP Chair Boo Coorigan, you're looking at him, his statement here right now, it does seem like the South Carolina, loss is what is costing Alabama, or should I say Tennessee, in the spot. I just don't like that. I just don't. I think head-to-head has to matter. It'd be one thing if Alabama had one fewer loss, but they have the same amount of losses. Well, what about the South Carolina loss? Well, what we do know is South Carolina the very next week went on the road and beat Clemson, okay? Doesn't that make that Tennessee loss look not as bad? I mean, let's be honest. It's true. South Carolina is a really solid team. So, I look at this from so many different angles. Let's take my LSU Tigers, common opponent. They also just happen to both play the game in Tiger Stadium. One team lost by 1, the other team won by 37 or 27. It doesn't matter what kind of logic you use. The only argument for Alabama over Tennessee that is sound is the South Carolina game, okay? Another argument that is sound is the injury to Hendon Hooker. But outside of that, and once again, Bill Connolly's computer poll saying, well, Alabama will be ranked ahead of Tennessee, other than the formula that the committee allegedly uses. I just don't see how this is just. I just don't see how Tennessee fans can let this happen. And if the magical does actually happen, well, and Alabama gets in, man, it's not going to be a good look. It really isn't. So, the one thing I will say, I like to give little nuggets at the end of every video. When the playoff stretches out to 12, well, a lot of you are going to like it because you won't have to worry about this argument. But I actually like it. I love the fact that only 4 teams get in and the margin of error is so small because these games do matter so much, just not in this case, apparently. So comment down below your thoughts. Do you believe Alabama should actually be ahead of Tennessee? Just let me know. Okay, we're close to 1K. Let's get it. Let's go. It is Power Hour SEC. Bah! And I will be in the ATL, so let me know. And, of course, we have more video content, including the man that Auburn should have hired. Bang! He's right there. And we just talked about him, actually. And tonight we are doing some shrimp pasta. Let's go!